Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk, and congratulations to Manchester City, who have been crowned the Premier League champion for the third time in a row. Hat trick of Premier League, to be honest, great achievement. What is it? Are there six or 5 out of 6 or something for Pep Guardiola?
5 out of 6 for Guardiola, yeah.
5 out of 6, and then I think that 13 title in 16 throughout his whole managerial career. So massive achievement for him.
League title. We should say league title. He's won other titles.
Yeah, league title. Sorry. Just few stats. You know what I meant, Adu. Come on. Yeah. No answers to start than the champions themselves. I mean, what did you make of it? Great run since February, and champions like performances.
Yeah, we're the winners at the end, and maybe the season doesn't reflect. I mean, the gap doesn't reflect how close it was up until the last few months. But last month but this for me, that's I said it last week and the last few weeks. It's the most impressive one for me under Pep because of the fact that the manner in which he done it, they had a number of problems. The fact that he's now integrating big name stars, big egos into the system before he was creating them. And you have to say it feels like the most impressive. I mean, we're saying that as if last year was impressive.
That's what I mean. It's crazy.
On their coattail the whole way through. But they really are setting a different level of a benchmark.
But if you look at it, every season, if a team is to beat them, they need to minimum get 95 points minimum. I'm saying. Because this year they could potentially end up with 94 points.
Yeah, and a team has got 95 and still not won it.
Exactly. Because
no,
that's why I said minimum.
It says and the thing is, yes, the City, they're just improving. They continue to improve. They're getting smarter with the signings. They're making less mistakes. They're getting better players. They're getting more athletic. You can see it's changing as well. You can see the signings that they're making now. They're athletic, big, strong, physical players who have the technical. The signing Ake, Akanji, Haaland. They're all big players. They're physically dominating players. So they are constantly improving. They're constantly finding better ways to run the club, to do transfers, to counteract FFP. They're doing everything in such an efficient way, and yeah, you can't help but be jealous.
But you know what's amazing also about this season and the way Pep has managed all different situations and players' egos is he's able to play, or the way he played it, he played the players, the big players, at the right moment when it's required. Like, he knew the moments to put those players in. He knew the moment to kind of take them out, give them the rest. And I think that in itself is massive, and the way he's managing those workloads, especially for like someone like De Bruyne and Gundogan, who are coming towards the end of their career, if you say.
But let's contrast that approach to the team that's been running them close for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Complete different approach. You look at Klopp; he stayed loyal with those players. His reluctance to integrate and trust the younger players fully. He only plays them and they only get run when there's injuries. But through the first team, if they're available, whether they've been playing well or not. There's been times where Van Dijk, Konate, Henderson, Fabinho, all of them haven't warranted playing. Thiago at the start of the season, last season.
Yeah.
So there's many times when the big names don't really warrant playing because of their performances, but he sticks to them. And you look at that contrast that with Pep this year and even last year. I mean, look what a statement they made, letting players go. And we'll talk about that later. But he let Sterling go. He's moaning, let him go. Let Jesus go, will it
Cancelo, you look
go
at Cancelo even throughout the season,
during the season? Yeah, and he was like their best player last season.
100%. Well, last year was sensational. Even
Arguably
this
him
year
and
was
De
good.
Bruyne.
Yeah, even
And
this year was good.
and you know he got a bit too big for his boots, and look what happens. You
Yeah,
know,
you see them through.
he's so this is like football utopia. This is City is just in every you can't see a weakness in any shape or form, and the way they're developing, you see the youngsters playing today. Their B team playing today, and that was like hosting the game. Um, yeah,
Listen,
just played better second half, but you could
it felt a
tell.
bit like a friendly. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but still, if you look at that first half, you know, it felt like a friendly because
Yeah, yeah.
City thing out of the game in the first 20 minutes. They were so intense in that first 20 minutes, got the lead, then kept the possession that it turned it into a very friendly game where Chelsea don't have anything to fight for, and they played like that. But I don't think they had those intention of set up like that. It's just that first 20 minutes had the you know the all the energy sapped out of them by that start and by the early goal, and that will affect you. I mean, you got the league leader, the champions B team, literally running rings around you. It's going to affect you. You could see it.
Yeah.
Players at end zone, Fernandez started to just go through the motions.
Because they realize. But do you know one another interesting on that point even, and if we look at the City and the way Pep has managed them and managed the squad, and even tactically how they're set up and differently with it. There's a stat that came out today from a place called Stats Bomb, which shows how the team plays depending on situation. And if you compare City to, say, for instance, other team, or say you compare him to Arsenal, Arsenal always played the same way, whether they're winning, losing, or drawing. If you compare to Man City, the style of play is different in each scenarios. When they're drawing, they play one way. When they're losing, like they go a bit more direct, bit more, penetrative. When they're winning, they just kill the game management, shorter passes, and just killing the game off, not letting any of the opposition get any hope.
I think seen that this year where they've definitely mixed it up more than they normally do. They've played a higher tempo, quicker tempo, a bit more forward, quicker. They've put more balls into the box. Even last season, they're putting a lot of balls into the box. Um, so they and there have been games we've seen against high pressing where they have played a bit more long, like against Arsenal, like against Real Madrid at times. Yeah. So that's what I mean. If you look in every area, this team is just going places. Scary because Cancelo wasn't playing drop. They had Sergio Gomez wasn't really good enough. They convert.
Okay.
You look at even Ruben Diaz wasn't even playing at the start of the season. No Laporte, no problem. You look at, they take Walker at the team. Stones fills in as right back really well. That's when he's playing conventional right back. He's overlapping like a normal right
Yeah,
back.
and then
Then
Akanji as
they,
well.
then
Akanji
they
plays right back
adapt the
and
whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah, and then they adapt the whole thing and get him into moving into the central midfield, and he's playing it so well, like a central midfielder. He probably plays better in central midfield than he does any of the other
Listen,
positions.
that Liverpool game was scary for seeing Stones the way he was dictating play against
Yeah,
Liverpool.
exactly. So, um, I think it does injustice to the team just to go like, oh, standard City winning the title. What do you
Oh no.
expect? The X amount on Alvarez and X amount on Haaland and the year before. I think it just does not do justice to the work that Pep has put in and the changes he's made as a manager. I mean, there's a lot of issues that they had to deal with this year. Transition of players, big name guys going. Um, and you could see a lot of the current squad. They weren't happy with losing players like Hayes and Sterling because they were highly rated. They were champions. So, there were a bit of doubts and there were question marks of who's this Alvarez and, you know, Akanji came in suddenly out of the blue and Sergio Gomez was like you know, maybe
That
fourth choice,
left
yeah,
back.
yeah. And,
Listen, they played Akanji at left back before Sergio Gomez. That tells you where he is in the packing order.
so, so yeah, and, you know, you, you think about those players, like I was thinking, you think what Cucurella must be thinking right now.
Yeah, exactly.
The,
Not good.
you
Well, but
know, Brighton
but it
played
was it was
hardball.
it was out of his hand, isn't it? Because it was
No,
right.
but it's never out of your hand because if you refuse to go to Chelsea,
Mm, mm.
then suddenly you force Brighton to start talking to City.
Fair,
So, and other players have done it where they've said, "This is the only club I'm willing to go to." You only negotiate with them, and then you strike a deal. So they could. I'm just saying,
yeah.
not saying they should have done that. Just saying, what must he be thinking right now? Because he would have played a lot more under.
Treble, treble,
And
yeah.
then you look at the other thing about players like Grealish. Just imagine if they went to Man United instead. He's got two Premier League titles now. Look at the development in his game. Now he's
Well,
the first name, one of the first names in Gareth Southgate's team now because he's stepped up to that level.
Calvin Phillips is another one potentially. Probably we'll see more of next year. First Premier League title for him.
Let's
Obviously,
see.
I know he hasn't played
Yeah,
as
I'm not
much.
sure about
He hasn't,
Calvin Phillips.
he hasn't played as much, but that could potentially be another one because Pep Guardiola takes his time. Embedding these players into his system and the way they flourish. It takes time.
Yeah, I mean, I think he plans it in such a way where look at how he's reinvigorated players like Diaz and De Bruyne and made sure that they were. But he didn't start them. He didn't. He did, and the other thing that always often gets missed is they always go on a big run towards the end, but that is the reward of he's the only manager who gives every player, no matter what commitment they have, a full 4 weeks or 5 weeks. I think he gives every player, even if they go play in a summer tournament, he'll still give them their full rest before he gets them to come back to preseason. So, how many times has he started the season with some big name players just coming back for the start of their preseason
Yeah, yeah.
as the season's approaching? These are sacrifices he makes for a run in at the end. And that's how much he backs and trusts his coaching ability, the players that he has, the scouting department, and they just don't panic.
No, no. At no point they do panic. No.
They find solutions, and you can just see as a manager, as a coach, he's just improving more and more.
Mm.
And that's a scary thought. That's a
But
scary
do you know what I was gonna before we move into potentially them winning trebles, etc., so on and so forth? A question because we're talking about players and the players in Man City, right? Do players like, say, for instance, Cancelo, Jesus, who left in the summer, Zinchenko, who left in the summer, Sterling, who left in the summer, do you think they regret the move? Because obviously they probably went there for the reason of thinking they want to become main mans or more minutes. I mean, what do you think is from their perspective?
I think 100% they will regret it. Those players because at the end of the day, the winners, they
Mm.
have winning mentalities. The way they went to those clubs was wasn't to earn a payday. It was because they believed they could win, and they didn't win. And maybe it's a bit softer with the Arsenal because that looks like a project that could challenge, but you're still going to have regret when you see
Yeah. Trevor.
potentially if they get the Champions, if they do a treble, a historic season, you will regret because those players were a big part of that, and they would have been a big part of this season.
Mm.
And it wasn't the club forcing them out; it's the players who wanted to leave. They felt like they needed, and that's the thing I never understand is when you're winning and you're playing, and you'd sacrifice a few games because when you see the end of it, you look at Sterling, the amount of games he played started and played. It's pretty much what he played this year. He was dropped just as many times this year for Chelsea.
Yeah, 100%.
So, so you just think, elite football at such a stage where rotation is a part of it. You know,
But you know what's crazy because I get obviously you don't want to be rotated, you want to be main player, this, that, because of your ego and your status and your elite, so on and so forth. But even if you look at it throughout the season, you play pretty much about 55 odd games, right? Altogether, I'm saying someone like Man City, etc., because of so many competitions. You end up with 30 odd games, anyways.
Yeah.
So,
And you get less injuries because you got a manager who's managing your
your workload.
minutes
Yeah.
and your workload, so that you don't get too many niggling injuries. You look at all the injuries City had; those players, when they've come back properly. They've not come
Been
back, got
rushed.
injured,
Yeah.
come back, got injured, and and you get that with a lot of players where they overplay. So, I think, yeah, they are definitely regretting. They are definitely. You saw it today. I mean, Sterling was trying his best, and City were trying their best to make sure he doesn't score.
Yeah.
They wanted
Oh,
to make.
great clearance from Stones. I think he was offside, but
Yeah, he was offside, but even the one in the first half where Ortega puts his foot down and
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
really should have scored that. But it just shows the difference in levels, isn't it? At the end of the day, if that's Alvarez with that chance, it's in the back of the net.
Back of the net. Yeah, yeah.
And
But I
people
mean,
are questioning City, they're letting big players go. And you never ever felt they were panicked once. You never ever felt Pep was worried once. And that's the scary thought. They just seem like, they're at a level where, nothing can phase them.
Adiva, do you know what's scary? Yeah, it's Haaland's first season. He scored 36, 50 odd altogether. Imagine next year.
Yeah. It's going to be, I mean, yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I wonder if players like, Bernardo Silva who really are looking
Wants
to
to
leave.
go.
I know, I think they might want to think twice
But like,
or even.
but no, but if he wins, say for instance, if they win the treble, if they win, Bernardo Silva wins the treble, he's pretty much done everything with City. He might want to look for a new challenge. I know, obviously, it's about winning, but he might want to go to a different country and challenge.
Yeah, if it's a different country and an elite team, I can understand it. But
Because he wants to go to Barcelona. That's where he wants to
yeah,
go. So
but they haven't got the money, so that's not going to happen. So if you go to PSG, I don't know. I don't think that's really a step up. My personal opinion.
yeah, yeah.
It's a league where any manager goes in, gets their first ever title. You get it. So I just think anyone can. That's not a challenge. That's for money. If you're going for Barcelona, fine, I can understand that, Portuguese player and the romanticism about it all.
Yeah.
But if they ain't got the money, you want to stay at City. You want to continue to build on the legacy. And today you look at the way Palmer was, you know, roasting Aspilicueta, Foden looking so sharp. Rico Henry was one of the better players in the first half.
Mm.
They got players coming through that look really good.
Listen, and there's some really good players in the academy. Really good players. I'm telling you. If you watch those FPL 2 or even the cup games, etc. Oh my, the whole system is there. Trust me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a scary thought that the way they're doing things, and they're just on a whole different level to everyone else right now.
Um, Treble.
Yeah, I think it's easier now. Look, today he was able to put, you know, he that wasn't the lineup he was going to play today, until Arsenal's result. You can tell. So
Mm.
already had an impact because a lot of those players are fresher than not had to go into the red zone. They're staying fresh. They probably get to celebrate a bit. Got a game against Brighton on
Yeah,
Wednesday, so
Brighton
which now they know they can play against Brighton, which is probably the hard of the two fixtures.
with the full squad. Yeah.
Stronger line. So definitely, I think it's enhanced their chances. The fact that they've got one of them in the bag and they're in the final of the other two, they could
Because
really.
yeah, because before the obviously FA Cup final, they can potentially the last game of the season next Sunday. They can potentially just put a whole different squad out again, whatever the result, and the players are fresh for the next game. Or do you think that might impact the momentum and the rhythm that players like and have?
I think he'll mix it. I think he'll mix it. He'll play them, but not all of them will start, and some of them will replace the starters and things. I think he'll mix it because, again, the title's done. He doesn't need to,
No,
he has to
I
time
mean
it.
more about
And,
the players' rhythms. That's what I'm talking about.
but this is the thing that we've said about City is they're on a whole new level because players just come in and they always look in rhythm. Even today,
Mm.
that wasn't the team that they were probably preparing for.
Chelsea, yeah.
On Friday, but all those players is the system, the style is so defined that players are literally going in there and it's seamless, and it doesn't look like a team that hasn't played together much.
Mm.
So it's I don't think like I said, it's definitely an advantage to have the choice.
Mm. Um, Talking of Forest, of course, they're safe now. I mean, Steve Coover done a brilliant job, and it's credited to their board for obviously not getting rid of him when the pressure was on, not once but twice from probably more so the media than anybody else. And he came out and backed his coach, and look what he's done. He's kept his Nottingham Forest up. I know you're very happy.
And I like the way you sidestepped Arsenal not taking it further by focusing on the Forest side of things. So
No, 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 not sidestepping because it is a big, it's a big thing that they've done, right?
big achievement, but I think just to round off the title and
Oh, come on, all right, go on, let's go.
something has to be said about Arsenal
Yeah,
kind of
of course.
not taking it further. I think you know really the really real reality is it showed so much promise, and the performance more than anything. I mean, the players didn't. I didn't feel like the last few weeks they played with any belief, and that's the disappointing thing when you
Yeah,
see everything they built up to that point was nothing but real arrogance, real confidence, real intensity. Some of the best football of the season. I'll still say was played by Arsenal.
mm.
And then to see the last few games, this lack of fight, it's the lack of fight. I
I
think
think, I think, I think the belief just after the I would say the West Ham and the Southampton result. I think the belief just went out. Especially, I know you might say, "Oh, they won at Newcastle," but Newcastle they won. They could have been motivated because of what happened last year. I reckon that obviously drove them forward a bit more for that Newcastle game. But I think deep down, I think the players actually felt that it's done. It's done because of the way City were doing it, and I think that even that percent of doubt or anything that is going to throw you off your game.
isn't that, but that's still disappointing that they're so focused on what City were doing.
Mm. No, no,
I just,
100%.
like I said, I just felt like the performances recently is just not befitting of a team that was challenging for the title, and um, no one saw it coming. Certainly, I didn't. That those type of performances,
I did.
you know, they just didn't turn up, and there's question marks. I think there's a lot of question marks around tactically. Arteta, I don't think he found enough solutions in
Yeah,
game.
but I mean, also
And
his
yesterday
squad
was
didn't
very
help.
strange.
He
Like,
ain't got
why
the depth.
are you at the back when you've not done it the whole season? Like, and
Mm,
then why are you playing without a right side and moving party? It's like they done at the start of the game. They done the whole Liverpool method of moving one of the midfielders out as the right winger, like they do with Henderson and Saka coming in, and that wasn't working.
mm.
And then they went down the mode of the Pep one, where with Ben White going in slightly as a midfielder, and you're thinking, this is so strange.
But do you know
Not
what
Arsenal,
was,
and
do you know do
you're
you know what was
challenging.
weird? Do you know what was more weird is the fact that, and I think it clearly tells the message about what's going to happen with Kieran Tierney. You've got Kieran Tierney who hasn't played much this whole season, right? Now you can finally give him some minutes. So why not starting him? That clearly says he's going. He's been off because that's the message you're sending out. You're playing some weird formation, even though you got a left back.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, it's like he's trying to do Pep stuff. He's trying to make Kiwi a centre back and a left back at the same time, like they've been doing with Ake and Akanji. And it's like, come on, like you can respect a team that is planning and strategizing for something like the way Pep did. They worked on it. They played in matches. It wasn't a success straight away. They improved on it, and now it's seamless.
Mm.
Everyone understands. Everyone's comfortable with it. He could do it in game, pre game, last minute. No one's worried. It's part of this. Why are you going to do this? The penultimate game of the season. You've not done it the whole season. You've not even embedded these ideas.
But maybe he's just giving up. He's just trying this stuff out.
So that's what I mean. It's overthinking. It's choking. Thing is, it's not the time. You're still trying to take that title to the last game of the season. You're still trying to, you. There's only one team that looked like they had something to play for yesterday, and that was Nottingham Forest. It shouldn't
100%.
be like that.
No, 100%. I agree with
The
you.
worst thing about it is that second half. Like I was expecting a reaction after losing last week. Remember, I said, "Oh, it might be a tougher game for Nottingham Forest," and it wasn't. And then the second half, just to
Just just
completely
worth it.
dominated in the first 15, 20 minutes. I was like, what is I'm expecting a reaction. I'm expecting something. And there's nothing. So I think yeah, let's see. I mean, it's gonna be interesting summer for Arsenal, but
I definitely think it's
let's
gonna
be
be.
honest, looking at this season, do you think they're ever gonna have a better chance than they did this year?
They probably won't, but obviously, if they get some good signing, it's another years of experience at that level. If they add some good players at the right position, I think, yeah, why not? Why can't we challenge again next year? Probably won't get the same opportunity as how we did, maybe not. But yeah, we could still be in there. Why not?
I'm not sure. I think that a lot of the players that they signed just proved that it's easy to fit into a system where there's a lot of leaders and it's a winning machine and you could come in with a winning mentality. But
Mm.
to actually lead a team, Gabriel Jesus was a joke yesterday.
It was
I was
bad.
looking, trying to get fouls for every little thing. He's grabbing players' shirt and then falling down and wanting decisions going. It's like that's not the way a leader should lead. That's not the way you're gonna win and show your team how to win. So I know when it comes down to the crunch, I just feel like maybe I've got a lot more questions on players, even though it's harsh because there's a title running. It's maybe cleared up in my mind where they can go, whether they can take that step, and I'm not sure.
I think there's still potential there because of how young the squad is. So I think there's still opportunity for growth there because there's still something there to build on. It's not like losing hope or an aging squad. They've got loads of years ahead because
Yeah,
if you
but
look at the main
I
core,
don't know.
the
Players
main
they're
core is
going
still young.
the players they're going for just sounds like players that fit their system, but they need more than that. That squad needs to become a squad where they lead, not Arteta leading. Just
Mm-hmm.
like with Pep, it's the players that are leading that team on the pitch. Do you get it? That's I think that's
No,
the
but that's something I
you
already
need to
questioned.
get those leaders, but
That's
they're
something
not
I've already
going for
said.
the money.
They need to buy players that fit the system, but also players with leadership ability
They know
and
how to
that
win, yeah.
character.
And I'm not sure they're really going for that. That's the question. Let's see.
But
I'll have
let's see what they do in the summer. That's maybe a video we can do in the summer to look at what they need to bring in or what characters they need to bring in to potentially improve them or make them take that next leap. Really, but Nottingham Forest, yeah, Steve Cooper. I mean, done the job, right?
Yeah, amazing, done the job. And it literally 2 weeks ago, it looked like
We were
we were
questioning.
wishing for them to stay up.
We were questioning
We
it.
really like them. We really rate Steve Cooper. We like the fan base, the history of the club, and we're like, oh man, I really hope they pull out. And they managed to. They won their home games. They got a couple of results on the road. A win and a
the
draw.
draws, the draws were really helpful as well, isn't it?
And yeah, they managed to get through. And the thing is, through organization and mentality.
Mm.
So and a different style. They played on the counter attack. They were defensively solid. They competed, and but yeah,
You know,
definitely
do you
they
know,
did.
do you know what was interesting is what Steve Cooper actually said, because he goes, it was a kind of a learning for him in himself as well, because he was so used to winning because of obviously what he's done with England and Swansea and Nottingham Forest in the Championship, because he was so used to winning. And it's different obviously when you come and you're losing every single week. It's a it's a different pressure. It's a different way to obviously motivate your team. So he in his presser he actually called that out. He goes, you know what, it was a learning for me, because even in January etc. I had to kind of like reflect and think about what's actually going on, and he goes, this experience is only going to improve him, and I completely agree with him. I think
And
this experience is just going to push him to that next level, as in their understanding.
they went to before before the turn of the year. They went through 2 months without winning,
Yeah.
and after they went on a run and they got like 11th place, I think.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
went,
You
they
remember
then
I was saying
went 2.5 months.
pushing up.
Yeah, then they went 2.5 months without winning.
Yeah.
And you have to give credit to the board, the owner, because at the end of the day, even after they gave that kind of ultimatum out for the second time, they lost the next 3 games.
Yeah.
And I think one of them was against Leicester, which was a rival. So they still stuck with him. And the fans have to get lots of credit. And I really like the way Steve Cooper gave credit to the fans, that literally, he's crediting them that he only was able to stay in the job because of the fans. And I think it was because they're losing 4-0 to Leicester, and they were still singing Steve Cooper's name, and that put pressure on the board not to sack him. So
Those fans do not want Steve Cooper to go. No way. Throughout the whole season, even when the media was thumping the pressure in, at no point those fans backed down. At no point. They said they don't mind getting relegated, but still have Steve Cooper.
and that's why I think the owner and the board have to take credit, because how many times do owners and board pull the trigger and not listen to their fans and not look at things in an objective way? And if we go through the whole season,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, look at the teams that are down there. Southampton, absolutely ridiculous what they were doing last season to Hassan, to removing all of his assistants, his coaches,
Yeah.
completely isolating him, undermining him, not giving him any of the signings that he wanted, not even signing the areas that he wanted, going all the way down this Moneyball statistical analysis approach, not understanding the manager has experience in the league, has been punching above his weight, has been finding creative ways to win. Remember, I was criticizing it because he kept changing formations, but that's because that was the only way he could get results. And
Mm.
sometimes because of that, they got thumped.
They got
But
punished. Yeah. Mm.
yeah, but he still found ways to keep them motivated, to keep them competing, to keep them with a young squad. And now you think, what did they get? They didn't even replace with anyone stronger. Even if you look at on paper, would anyone ever say Nathan Jones
It's
and
yeah.
Sellers has got a better CV than Hassan Hutel?
No, no.
Common sense is just everything. Even you look at Leicester,
But no, but this is why they
they
went
done a
down at
bit
the
of,
end. This is why
yeah,
they went down.
100%. And then they wasted so much money in January, money that they weren't willing to support Hassan Hutel with in the summer.
Yeah, but again, they've signed some strange players. I know they potentially might have that.
All
Yeah,
stats related,
yeah,
but
yeah,
at the end of the day, what's the point of Sulemana being one of the fastest players in the
yeah.
Premier League? I haven't seen him doing it. That pace hasn't come to any good.
Or getting that big striker, Nachu. He hasn't
And
even started many games. Like I'm like, so what was the purpose of him like buying him? What?
yeah, so I think yeah. Either way, if you go to even Leicester, there's no way anyone can tell me Dean Smith has got a better CV than I think than Rodgers. Even though Rodgers clearly lost but if you're gonna get rid of someone, replace with someone better.
Mm, mm.
You look at Leeds.
Xavi Garcia, and then before that was
At
obviously
Bielsa, you go to
yeah,
Jesse Marsh, who
Jesse
just flopped,
Marsh.
with Leipzig. You get him in, all right, he scrapes it, but he never really convinced. But then to go worse than that, go to Xavi Garcia, who got sacked from Watford.
Mm.
And then you go from that to Sam Allardyce. Like, what is the plan there? Uh, who else? You look at all of, the only ones that work is because they actually got a better manager in. You look at Wolves, you know, you,
Lopetegui, come on, man. This is like that's a massive
yeah,
CV.
you look at Aston Villa, Emery. They
Yeah.
actually got rid of managers and replaced them with top quality replacements, and you can see the results. Otherwise, you better stick it to who you got.
But
Like
with the Leicester with the
Cooper.
Leicester one, I would say, and I think we've spoken about. I think the board have to take some blame as well because, like we said, they're keeping players that are not happy to be there, and you can see that in the performance. There is no heart there.
It's not just about keeping players that aren't happy to be there. Know what club you are. I mean, you can't think you're a top four level club who's got that ambition and paid the wages you have and say no to Soyuncu and Didi,
Yeah.
Fafana at the time,
Madison, you look at
Tielemans, Madison. How many players are you think you can just get away with
that's
refusing
their
them?
whole core. That's their whole core. And they lost Kasper Schmeichel, who was a big leader in the squad, and replaced him with Danny Ward. Come on, the guy made so many mistakes in the whole season.
Yeah, and even this recently, the is it
Avison, again, poor.
making loads of mistakes himself. So both, I don't think are Premiership standard keepers. But even when you look at that, slight side topic. But even when you look at things like Aston Villa with Fraser Forster, you just think, there's so
Oh,
many.
sorry, you're talking about Spurs. Spurs with
Yeah, yeah, just adding a bit. But even on this keeper thing, just a side digression. There's so many better keepers out there than Ward, Forster, um, Bazunu which was a strange one because he actually had a really good season with Middlesbrough. But that's surprised. But the mistakes he was making didn't warrant him staying in the squad. But they had, known better, or they didn't trust who was better. And then you look at things like, these are the little moves that I just think tells you a club knows what it's doing a bit smarter. Even something like the way United covered De Gea by having Dubravka. Dubravka, you get Butland in.
Mm.
You know, there's players out there that aren't playing that are better, and you have to make those. You have to have that foresight to realize, yeah, this player needs a kick up the backside, or his full fit wavering, and you need to get someone who can actually take his spot. And look, De Gea, he got Golden Glove again. Still made mistakes, but a lot of his mistakes came after Dubravka went.
Yeah, yeah.
But while Dubravka was there, he was having a standout season. Why? Because he suddenly knew there is actually a keeper who could take his place. So little things like that, you just think very strange when teams are addressing the actual problems and they continue to buy players in other areas they're already strong at.
It's well, or in some clubs' cases, not even by anybody like
Yeah.
Leicester.
So definitely Nottingham Forest deserve credit, the board deserve credit, the fan deserve credit, Steve Cooper and the
I'm
players.
happy they're staying up because they're a brilliant club.
Yeah, and the money they spend proves that they probably will continue to spend. They will go for it. They're another ambitious club at the end of the day.
I do. Milanokis, or whatever his name is, that owner, he's crazy.
Rinakis.
I'm telling you, this guy is crazy because he owns a club in Turkey. Yeah,
Olympiacos, yeah, he
yeah,
owns
the
it.
stuff this guy does is crazy. He
Not Turkey,
doesn't buy
Greece.
spending. He bought James Rodriguez in, got rid of him after 6 months. He bought Marcelo in, got rid of him after 6 months. He just buys players after players after player. If he sees someone he likes, he buys them.
Yeah,
But I
he's
don't think obviously long term buying that many players will help. I think he obviously
I think the smart thing is he's showing he's learning from it because they've now got the chief executive from Rangers. So they're going British, they went with the Italian guy, it didn't work out, but you can't knock it as well because
No, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, they need to be a bit more smarter because he can't just keep throwing players at Steve Cooper. Because if they want to step up to that next level, they need to obviously plan a bit more and just get the right players in. I'm not saying don't buy.
But I think he's not the one doing those plans, isn't it? He's the one who's kind of supporting the chief exec or whoever the planner is in terms of what the team needs. And you know, for me, I'd rather have a manager panic by doing signings than panic by getting rid of a good manager,
Mm.
which is what many of the other clubs have done. Some have done both. They brought a new manager and then panicked and brought signings like with Nathan Jones or, you know, they brought all these players in that now aren't part of, you know, the next manager's plan. So it's very strange. But when I was watching the game yesterday, look, who were the players that impressed me those? It was those Brazilian players they brought in January. I thought Felipe, for me, was man of the match.
Solid.
He had a colossal game. I mean, the amount of tackles, last ditch battles he won against, and he got under the skin of Jesus
But
the
it
whole game.
wasn't just this game. Felipe
Yeah,
has been doing
recently
the last how many games he has been like that. He has been
been really good. And
uh,
the other one who really impressed
Danilo.
me, Danilo. Oh my, that guy has an engine. He was going midfield and then coming out to the Y every time, and that this guy's got an engine and a half.
But also he's so adaptable because Steve Cooper actually plays him in different roles depending on the match situation and who he brings on. Because 1 minute he's playing as the anchor, next minute he's playing as the box to box, next minute he's playing left mid, and he's scoring as well. This he's got some crucial goals in there for him. And let's not forget Morgan Gibbs White got a lot of attention at the beginning of the summer. Everyone questioning it, why so much money, this that.
Well, it's still although they paid the odds, but
But it's
he's a good
it's
player
helped
at the
them
end of the day.
keep it up. It's worth
Yeah,
it. Look at it.
no, but when you look at it, that's the other thing is even Awani
Yeah.
really struggled, and I look at the way he's come through in the running, and that just shows how what a good manager Steve Cooper is because he's worked on the training ground, kept those players' confidence up, and they've all improved. They've all improved, looked better, and yeah, I'm just glad that they're going down this running because I think right at the start of the season, I criticized the fact that he kept playing McKenna and I still can't remember the name of that the defender from
Cook,
Bournemouth that
Cook,
kept
Cook.
playing Cook, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I couldn't believe
guess
that. I
what?
could not understand.
Look at the results when those two are in the team. 90% of the points has come
Could not understand.
with with, with,
Well,
with
do you remember us, both of us moaning about the fact they were playing them to, and then October he changed it to actually going to Joe Worrell and forgot the other one's name, Willie Bowley.
yeah,
All
and
of a sudden they start getting points.
yeah. So I think yeah, definitely you know Steve Cooper with the helping hand from us can be proud of his achievement of you know staying up in the Premier League. They done very well.
But out of them guys, we'll talk about the relegation towards the end. But let's move to Champions League. I think pretty much secured for Newcastle and Man United after Liverpool's draw at Aston Villa.
Yeah, like I said all along, everyone kept saying Liverpool and like nah, just they're not on City levels of reading off 11 in a row. And
Mm.
you know, yesterday they were lucky. I thought, even though the second half was good, second half performance was good. That first half, I mean. I haven't. Well, I have, but it's surprising to see because of the form that they were in, how much they actually got dominated in that first half.
Yeah, yeah.
It is really, really surprising for me to see. And Aston Villa was all over them that first
I'm
half. I mean,
surprised Villa didn't score more. Ole Watkins
you
missed
know,
a penalty as well, and
yeah, they play some really good stuff, and they're really in the face of this Liverpool team, and Liverpool players couldn't handle it. They actually couldn't handle the intensity of you know the press of the Aston Villa players for once, and
mm,
it just surprised me. Definitely surprised because they would have known that's probably their hardest game in the running. The form that Aston Villa were in, the
yeah.
amount of wins they've had away from home that they're a team clearly who know how to get results away from home. So definitely, yeah, lucky to get a draw at the end. I felt.
Well, good sending off for Firmino because obviously he's been a servant for them for 7 odd years, and for him to get the goal and get the ovation and everything. So it
I
was
think
it
he
was
would have got
great
that
way to
ovation anyway, but
yeah. No, as
as
in like a
with
good
that,
way to go, isn't it? To score.
it was a quality goal as well. I
Yeah,
mean, the
yeah,
finish was absolute quality. I mean, not only most players, that's a difficult shot to execute, and then he does a skilled finish instead. Just finishing that in a normal volley is
it's hard.
harder. And well, he made that look easy, but that was a fantastic finish. And yeah, I think it's nice for him to get the credit and that he deserves because the last few years it has been hard going for him, and
Yeah,
let's be honest, many Liverpool fans had got sick of the sight of him. And now the
I
strange
think they,
thing is
I
they're
think
very
they love him.
they,
I think they still love
they
him.
love him, but like at that moment when he was just going through a lean patch,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and I was always of that thinking, well, if Mane is scoring close to 30 goals and Salah is scoring 30 close to 30 goals, and you're scoring record amounts of goals, what are you complaining about? Someone has to do the sacrificing
Yeah,
to make
yeah,
it work. And yeah, I think his last few seasons maybe his credit for how good he really was, diminished slightly because of that. But uh, what a quality player, and I'm glad he's getting the credit that he deserves.
yeah. Obviously, Newcastle Champions League, Man United. Does finishing fifth or in Europa League position impact Liverpool and their transfers probably?
I think it just means you have to pay more wages to get those players to come because Liverpool is slightly different because Klopp is so good at winning the minds of those players that they target that once he speaks to them, they kind of become they do the thing that we were saying Cucurella could have done where they're like, no, I only want to go to Liverpool. And it then just comes down to money, and they normally are able to get a discount or the terms they want because of that. But they always were able to offer Champions League. Now, I think all it means is they'll have to pay more to get those players they tapped up.
Because I think McAllister is there's some rumors that apparently it's pretty much done for them. So
Yeah, I mean the players they go for, they're going to be the ones that Klopp has already spoken to. They've already agreed everything's down in the background. It's more about whether they can agree a fee with the club
mm.
and the player. And the player's never really been a problem, but now that might be a bit more harder, I think, because they can say, "I'm sacrificing Champions League, so for me to come to you, you need to give me a little bit more."
And in terms of Newcastle, I mean, getting Champions League probably years ahead of their plans. How will that impact them? Do you reckon?
I think it just makes it easier for them to maneuver the market to get the players that they want. Everyone knows the Premier League or the rest of the Premier League have been, colluding to make things difficult for Newcastle to become a top four team. So the fact that they've managed to do it is just proof that if you just keep your head down and do a few smart signings, and you can beat the system.
Mm. Well,
It
it'll help
definitely
with the FFP as well, isn't it? Because Champions League, they'll get a lot of money from that as well and free up some, transfer funds for them to spend.
Yeah, and they can justify maybe slightly more Saudi commercial deals now,
Sponsorship, more
which is
sponsorship because of
restricted. Yeah,
Champions League. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, which is being restricted because I think Aramco and some of those, a lot of the Champions League is sponsored by Russian and Saudi companies. So let's see. It definitely makes it harder for the clubs that don't have money or have to generate the money. Makes it a lot more harder.
Mm.
Uh, even for everyone, the whole league, City continue if they win the Champions League, it makes it harder for everyone because they have been playing the market well. They're probably not being as aggressive as they want to be because of FFP rules. There's a reason why they couldn't go for Cucurella because they couldn't go past a certain
Threshold.
transfer. Yeah. So, it's all these things have big permutations, and those clubs that can spend big, it's more of a worry.
But
So I think
you know Pep.
for Arsenal, for Tottenham, it makes things a lot harder for
Mm.
those clubs that don't have a big billionaire owner.
No,
Liverpool
what I was
certainly
gonna
do.
say is, are they, it also Pep. You know Pep will add one or two quality players this window just to give them some refreshers within the squad. He always does that, and I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you lose Bernardo Silva and you get Joshua Kimmich, no, you're just replacing quality players. So I don't know. Let's see. You can tell, they'll get quality players no matter what. They're going to become more and more attractive because also Pep has signed another 2 years, a contract extension. So that just gives that security that maybe some players were thinking Pep might be leaving. Now, yeah, he's there for another 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. Um, United Champions League first season for Erik Ten Hag, trophy in the bag, final, great
I
season
think
so far.
I think people are underestimating the achievement because of the recent losses. But I still feel a lot of those losses is only because of the amount of games they've had to play. They
Mm,
can't go full tilt, and the injuries and it's the cost of being ambitious and going for everything that you know eventually does catch up with you. So looking at everything he's done, the build up, I just think they are definitely going places. They're going in the right direction. The only thing that can mess it up is this takeover because if Ratcliffe takes over, it's very clear he's going to bring his own people in and he's going to go down that statistical route that he's done with Nice, and he's going to change a lot of things in the background, which is a shame because under Russell Arnold they are actually doing things the way it should be done, and they are starting to become a very good, efficient team. The processes are being good. There's accountability. I like the fact that they've accepted them. They got played by Ajax and messed up with the Martinez and the Anthony transfers in the way they handled it, and they played way over the. I like the fact that those things are going out because it shows a team that is taking account of their mistakes and they're going to learn and improve.
mm,
So it'll be a shame that finally, when the backroom side of things are getting sorted out with people that are deserving of running the club, that potentially by getting rid of divisive owners, you're going to end up with owners that's going to take away the one good thing going, which is the management and the backroom team. They're starting to do things in the right way and fix things in the right way, and you know, um, you can see they're building towards something.
yeah.
So that's the only thing that can mess it up is, and we don't know what Sheikh Justin might do if they take it, but that whole thing is the only thing that's kind of putting a dampener on
Yeah.
what has been a very good season.
I think what I was gonna say is, from my perspective, if you're looking at it for United, I think they need to get this not transfer of takeover saga done as quickly as possible, so they can start actually planning. I know they'll have plans, but obviously when a new owner comes in, he'll come with his own plans and people, and he'll change everything. So the quicker they get it done, it might help them in the window and everything else.
Yeah, but other than what, I don't know, don't speak for every United fan, but it'd be nice if the prospective guys, um, buyers, if there's more detail of what the offer is and because I do feel like it's a media game and a media war going on, and then you got all this, you know, Qatar sports washing. But when you think about it, it's a no-brainer when you look at the bids. That one bid is so much more
Oh,
beneficial
superior.
for United fans and the club than the other because other than changing from American ownership, British ownership, what does India still really bring? Because they're
Well,
still settling the club in debt and still borrowing off the banks,
and Glazers will still be
and there's still no real. commitment to financially commitment to improve it. They're saying it, but there's no. If you can't even buy the club, how are you going to improve the infrastructure, the stadium, the training? So it's yeah, it's one of those political topics, but let's see where it goes.
Well, I mean, it's potentially worth doing a video on this, Adu, and just look into details about what's going on and what's best potentially for United.
Well, the thing is, the worry is going down one of these is actually going to improve things. I mean, everyone just thinks because we're getting rid of the Glazers and the amount of money they've put on the club. But they've always funded it and supported it, even though it wasn't their money. They've not released funds. Do you get it?
Mm.
So let's see. Historic number of money has been wasted in transfers under the Glazers. So you can't knock it complete. But I hope let's see. It's going to be interesting. I mean, United are one of those clubs that don't really need a billionaire because the amount of money they actually generate. They
Mm.
can. They always generating over 100 mil, so they can always spend over 100 mil on transfers, which I don't think any other club can really do. So the financial muscle of United is exceptional and does make it a different proposition.
Mm, interesting. But I mean, if we look at the other teams in the European position, obviously, just to know, West Ham obviously gone to the final of the Conference League, and if they win it, they can potentially get a European position as well as in Europa League position. Brighton secured the
Um,
place.
yeah, really happy with that.
Mm.
And that's the other thing. It
Well,
looks
they
like
can get fifth, but obviously it's down to Liverpool, right?
unlikely.
Yeah.
It's unlikely, but
Yeah.
and then they go beat City midweek. So unlikely after the rest the big hitters have had.
Yeah.
Uh, so I just think when you look at this, it's nice in the sense that the teams that I feel deserve it, and there's a lot of teams that are unheralded as well. Like we said, Newcastle above what expectation, Arsenal. Not everyone had them in the top four at the start of the
No, yeah,
season.
no one had them in the top four.
So they weren't in mine, certainly. So and then you look at Liverpool, the lack of smart signings, or they kind of deserve to be just outside Champions League spot because they haven't done things correctly or better than Arsenal, Newcastle, and Man United. So, and then you look at Tottenham, do they really deserve to get even Europa League? I hope Aston Villa actually get it. So
Yo,
then,
they're ahead of them by a point.
but
So,
it goes down to the last game. I think Aston Villa got very tough fixtures, haven't they?
but also, Adi, they might not get it because, like I said, if West Ham get that Europa League position,
No,
uh,
I think they still do, even if
no,
Real.
no, they're on eighth place. So two of them will go to obviously Liverpool and Brighton because they
No,
can't reach
I'm talking
Brighton.
about the seventh place team.
Yeah,
But
the
the
conference
conference, yeah,
conference league.
yeah, for Aston Villa, that's something.
For Aston Villa, yeah, but for Tottenham, I'm saying it's just awful because you know
But
what?
I think that we know Levy and we know that stadium will still get packed.
Yeah, he
So
doesn't
that's
deserve
still a
it.
lot of income
He doesn't deserve it.
from the extra games. So, you know, there's no way Tottenham don't want to
Come
get
on,
even.
Leeds.
So, yeah, I mean, who has the Villa play last game of the season?
And Aston Villa got. Hold on one
It's
second.
one of the big boys, I think.
Oh, they're playing Brighton.
Well, that might help the fact that Brighton have secured the Europa spot.
Yeah, yeah.
It might help.
Oh man,
And the fact that they got a midweek game against City
City.
that Deserve is gonna go mad about because he wants to prove a point. Uh,
But if they win that, then yeah, by all means.
so yeah, it seems like good. It seems like
But look, considering what Emre's done since he's come in, I think in forms table, everything you look at, and the way they're playing, the way they competed against the top boys, they
uh,
deserve to be up there rather than Tottenham, who's just been a absolute
it's not,
nightmare.
it's not just the fact that they deserve it or the form. It's the way they play. They play brave football. They're playing. what you see the top teams do. They're playing intricate passing, tight zipped passing. They're controlling the ball in tight areas, passing it off. You
Mm.
know, he's getting them playing, and those players. Let's look at some of them are technically really good players that are rated as highly as they should be. But I know me as a coach, or I've always rated Jacob Ryan. I've always rated McGinn as a player. I've already rated Douglas Lewis as a player. Now you're seeing those players play to
Flourish.
their potential, and now and the thing is, they're doing it the right way. They're doing it the smart way, which is they're offering their players big salaries as if they're already a big club. So it's not easy for players to tempt these guys away. It's not easy to tempt Emiliano Martinez away.
Yeah, yeah.
You not only are you going to give big transfer fee, you already know the guys on good wages. And that's the way you want to do it if you want to move up that next stage. It isn't about spending big transfer fees of players. It's about matching the type of wages they would get at the big clubs.
But we also forget they missed one of the key signings throughout the whole season. Diego Carlos was going to come back next year
Yeah,
in
well,
defense
that
of the
was Steven Gerrard's key signing, but I don't know.
as
Like
it.
he,
I mean,
it says he is an upgrade of Mings, but you know, I don't think he's that great a defender to say the truth, in my
mm.
opinion. But
It's an upgrade on Mings or Konsa. I would say
yeah, it
definitely
would be.
because that
It
would
would
improve the improve
And
that
that's
whole.
the thing. But look how good Konsa and Mings have been playing under
Yeah,
Emery. They actually look like good defenders all of a sudden. Before that, they look like a comical duo that always got some mistakes in them, always getting into spats with players,
yeah, yeah.
interested in grabbing the shirt of the player, then actually clearing the ball. And now they did look like actually very good players. So
Mm.
definitely, Emery's got a tune out of them and improved those players, and
Mm.
they're looking really good.
Right. Let's move on to the towards the relegation. Who's getting relegated, I do, because that game against Newcastle for Leicester is just become paramount now. Like they need to win. They have to win.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like Leicester's gone. They've had quite a few chances to get points, and they've not managed to do it against the teams around them. And the worst thing is the spirit of the players that's there. So many of the players seem like they're really happy to leave or they're gone, and they're not even fighting. They're not even playing with heart. They've had quite a few home games. Remember, we were saying at one point they had the best chance of getting out because they had like 5 of their 8 games were at home or something
Oh
like.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They wasted every single one of them. They pretty much lost every single one of them against teams around them. So definitely, I don't. I'm not. I don't think they've got it in them. But out of the teams that are in there, I would say like Leicester to get out.
I mean,
I did want Leeds to get out because of the fan base, but
yeah.
after going full 180 against Sam Allardyce, you just think, what kind of structure is that? Like you got with to a manager that's completely the opposite of what you've been building for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Just doesn't make sense. So,
I mean, well,
too
so
much
if we
panic.
if we if we look at it, so it's between Leicester, Leeds, and Everton. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Leicester's got Newcastle away, first game. Leeds have got so Leicester's got 2 games, unlike Everton and Leeds. So Leeds, the next game is against Tottenham at home. Everton's next game is Bournemouth at home. Who probably already partying, but still, it makes it easier for them being at home. And then Leicester's last game is Adio. Just 1 second. West Ham.
Yeah, so I think definitely Leicester. It's looking bleak for them simply because of the games the other two have got. The other two have got winnable games, and I would say that puts Everton in the driving seat.
They need a point. I think they really need a point just to give them some belief and confidence out that Newcastle game.
No, because it doesn't matter. I mean, they have to win. They have to beat Newcastle to have a chance of winning because at the end of the day, Leeds and Everton have games they can win, and that we would
Yeah.
both say they are the favourites. So unless they get the 6 points, the win against Newcastle, which again you can't rule out, but it'd be unlikely, unless they beat Newcastle, I don't think Leicester are getting out, and that's why I think Leicester will go down.
Okay.
It looks like Everton are going to get away with it again.
Everton.
Which out of all the teams that are in the run, I would really like Everton to go down simply because of the fact that the way the club is run, and nothing ever changes, and they seem to just get away with it for too long.
Yeah, and they might be in massive trouble if they do go down financially.
Yeah, and the other thing is there are definitely favoritism going on with the way the FFP rulings are going. They've been given preferential treatment, so it'd be just if Everton went down.
Yeah, I mean, leaves it interesting for the final day of the season at least somewhere. All right.
So yeah, definitely excitement.
At least some excitement somewhere.
Also, party poopers,
Boo you. Oh man, but I do thank you for today. Those of you watching, thank you for watching. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe. And if you have any great ideas for us to do in terms of throughout the summer, to do let us know in the comment section. Thank you. See you soon.